Welcome back to the Agent Goldmine. Today is a show all about questions that I was going to ask Ali about how she works with buyers specifically. I know that we have done our buyers checklist process part 1 through a zillion before with Ali that is very detailed and amazing. And if you haven't watched it, you should definitely go back and check out those episodes. But for those of you who have been following my journey, when I got back into sales, I was like, I'm not going to work with buyers. Like, no way. I'm not working with buyers. I'm sellers only. Of course, if you just listen to my update, you know that I'm working with buyers right now, which actually is, I'm having a blast, with my handful. But yeah, so I'm going through it. And like, I started doing this yesterday. Ali and I chat literally all day on WhatsApp, like just ping, ping, ping back and forth. And I was like asking her things and like, you know what? Let me just ask this in a recorded manner, because if I'm asking these questions, that means that other people out there probably are too. So the star of today's show is the Ali Garced, Ali the animal in the house.
Welcome to the Agent Goldmine, the only podcast in the world specifically for real estate agents who are stuck at 5 transactions a year to help them get to 20 plus. Your hosts, Ali Garced and Shelby Johnson, 2 EXP icon agents, each do over 40 transactions a year and interview others who are crushing it. In this podcast, you'll receive the knowledge to help you scale your business using systems and processes with our interviews and monologues twice a week. If you want to be a part of our community, reach out. Welcome to the show. I was dancing and I have no idea what questions are coming. So Let's begin.
Okay. Question 1. When you first are, have someone reach out to you, say, hey, I'm looking to buy. I know that you have that Zoom, you have like a Calendly set up to talk to them on the call. So is that like the very first time you send them the Calendly and you have a couple questions on there, which are you go over the questions? So the reason why this is coming up is because I am working with, a brand new buyer, and I wanted them to think through what they were looking for prior to our call. So the first time they're not like, what do I do? So I'm just curious, could you refresh me on your process from like the moment they're like, I want to buy, to that first call?
Yes. Okay. So this is a lesson learned for me in the beginning. In the beginning, I was going with everyone else's communication style. If they emailed me, I would email them back. If they texted me, I would text them back. If they, if it was on Instagram, and it was just all over the place. So after that, my call to action on my YouTube channel, which is how I get clients now, is just on Calendly. If they do not book a call on my calendar, we don't work together, because that's like number one. It's like the easiest thing that you can do is just answer some questions on my Calendly and get on my calendar. So I still now get texts being like, hey, I saw you on YouTube. Do you have like a quick 5 minutes? Can I call you right now? No. I'm always with the client, and you can book as fast as you can on my calendar. So that I'm so strict about it now. And I don't I got to the point where I was just like so overwhelmed of people just reaching out here, there, like up, right, left, down. And I was like, you know what? This is the only way. So with that, I funnel everyone to my calendar. And that's the first conversation. Sometimes if they've watched my other videos where I put out my phone number and they text me, if they have like a very basic question, and I'm not advising, because I'm not going to be giving anybody advice until you're my client. And again, that's because of the power of YouTube. Otherwise they wouldn't know what I offer. So I would probably have to give some advice. I funnel everything back. Hey, I want to answer that question, but at this point, I can't. This is the next step. This is the next step. This is just the process, and it is what it is. So my questions on my calendar are, on Calendly is what I use. There are a couple of different apps for it, to, link to your calendar, and for people to automatically get your Zoom link, and et cetera, et cetera. Calendly is about $150 a year, totally worth it. They have a maximum of 10 questions. I have all 10 questions laid out. So first name, last name, email. I click the little button on behind the scenes where they can add a guest. So that way, if they want to add their dad, nobody's ever done it, but if they want to add their spouse, that one they do all the time. It's all parties are on the call, especially if the spouses are not co-located. Otherwise, they would need to add them to the Zoom call. Best contact number for them. Next question is, will you be selling another home before or during this purchase? One, that could land me a referral. Two, I want to be able to get in contact with that listing agent to make sure they're good, because if they are bad, we won't be able to close on the buy side. Um, then I ask for the full address of the house that they're going to be selling if they are. I ask for the reason for buying, um, and the date that they would like to close on their new home. That gives me a sense of urgency. Is this a now client, or is this like I need to love on them for the next 6 months? I have a price range. The price range, I have like what they call the radio button. So it's like you just click that one button. You can only click one. I did that on purpose because I don't want people to click multiple. And so the way that I did it is the least amount are those that are just like mobile homes. So anything like 200 and under in Tucson, mobile home or apartments. So that way I know where they're going for, or right below the median, from the median to a little bit higher, um and then like two higher ones. So like the two higher ones being like some semi-luxury and luxury for Tucson. Next question is, are you pre-approved, or would you like to be connected to one of our preferred lenders? If they're pre-approved, sometimes if I have time for it, I will before our Zoom call, I will ask them to email me the pre-approval. That gets a lot of people because sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, actually, well, my pre-approval's from last year," or "Actually, I don't have one." I'm not sure why people. I still don't know why people say they are pre-approved when they're actually not. But as soon as they say that they are, perfect, let me see it because the more that we can speed this up, the better. Or if they're a cash buyer, they can just click that radio button as well. The next three questions are very common. What is the top three must-haves, and like, and then I even write down the definition of what must-have is, because must-have is so common between realtors, but not really with clients. So must-haves: you will not even consider placing an offer unless the property has these things. And then I give them some examples, like you're looking for maybe a property without an HOA, square footage, number of stories is important to you, etc. The next question is your top three wants. So as you receive emails from us, to find properties that interest you, what are some things that you would like but are not a necessity? And your top three deal breakers. And this one I think is very important, and I super harp on it on the call. If the property has these three things, or etc., you will not be placing an offer. We can cross these homes off of our list immediately as we see them because they have these deal breaker items. This I refer back to quite a bit. As clients I'm talking to the future here, as clients start maybe getting overwhelmed or opening up their buy box, they're starting to look at homes sometimes that they didn't normally consider. So this is when I have these saved answers because they booked it in my it's in my calendar, and I have a Zap that goes to my CRM, and it saves as a note in the CRM. So I have it forever. So I could be like, hey, actually, previously you did not want a two-story, or yeah, you didn't want a two-story. Why are we looking at two stories now? Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go from ground one. And then the last question is kind of a catch-all. Anything else that you'd like for me to know better to be prepared for our meeting? Sometimes there are, it could be anything. Sometimes it's a lot of just like, nope, that's it. From there, I have a series of like automated texts and emails that will go out to the client, like kind of a lot, because I have gotten some feedback being like, hey, I know, like, I already know that we have a meeting. I'm like, okay, good. Then it shouldn't bother you, but okay. So I have it going out like at least 1 week before, 3 days before, 1 day before, and day of for sure. Text and email with the link, because otherwise you're going to be wasting your time, your first 5 minutes of the client saying that they can't find the link.
It's so funny that you say that, because you know how so sometimes Ali and I do this thing when we want to like talk to each other and not just WhatsApp all day. We send each other a Calendly link to like book a call on each other's calendars so we can like brainstorm or whatever. And we had just done that one for the one yesterday, for the conference that you're going to speak at. And I was like, hot damn, Ali, I will be there. I will not miss our meeting.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
What? Okay, no, so did you think it was overload? No, please tell me the truth.
I mean, it's overload for me because the minute that something's on my calendar, like, it's happening. But I also
Yeah.
know that most people, most clients don't live in the world that I live in, which is constantly absolutely like hooked to my calendar with my heart and soul. So it's just funny being on the receiving end.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, with a buyer and with a seller Zoom, I have only ever had one person not show up. Um, and I've taken a lot of calls. Meanwhile, I have the same exact process for agents when
Mhm.
agents are interested in potentially joining us or learning about how to get their real estate license, whatever. Um, it's significantly higher no-show
Yeah.
rate.
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
because agents are the worst ever. I know
agents are
that
the worst
all of
ever.
you listening are agents. You guys suck. Everyone, just kidding. Love hate you all. It's fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like that's just like shows the difference of motivation. Like these people are looking to buy, they're looking to sell
Yeah.
versus agents, at least maybe those that are booking on my calendar, they're like, whatever. Ali's
Yeah.
time, fuck it. If you are looking to change brokerages this year so you can increase your business and you want to join us at eXp Realty and would like either myself, Ali Garced, or Shelby Johnson to personally sponsor you in, so that way you have access to two icon agents, text the word join to either my number, 914-318-4918, or Shelby's number, 859-267-3849. If I sponsor you and you have access to the both of us and everything that's Five Pillars Nation, we have the checklist, the systems, the processes to help you scale your business. And don't take our word for it. We've had agents switch brokerages to join us that were stuck making $300,000 GCI, and they join us so they can scale. So text the word join to those numbers and we'll take the next steps.
Okay, but Allie, this show is about me and answering my questions.
Yes, about Shelby.
So so we're going back to, so that is, they reach out whatever way you're like, yeah, dude, I'd love to talk to you, book a thing on my Calendly, and they go through and they answer that. And then when you show up on the Calendly, first of all, you mentioned Zoom and not Google Meet, which I'm in this debate period right now because I've been a Zoom girl this whole time, but then I downgraded because I didn't need our time blocks anymore. But now I'm like, I feel like I need our time blocks back, but Google Meet is free. So what is your, why Zoom? Why not Google Meet?
Oh, so for kind of a silly reason, every time I go on a Google Meet when someone else invites me, it's always like staticky or like a little bit buggy or slow. I don't know. I just got used to Zoom. I didn't realize that Google Meet was free, so maybe I'll rethink it. But
Yeah. No, I mean, it seems free. It worked, and it doesn't kick me off after 40 minutes or whatever Zoom does with my little freebie account. So I think I'm transitioning to
nice.
be a Google Meet girl, especially since I'm already
Wow.
Google everything else. Like my email, I mean, it's covered up with the domain, but it is Google and it's core, and I use Google Drive and the things.
Wow.
Anyway, okay,
So then
so
maybe it's just the webinar style where I've gone on with Google Meets and it's just like it's clunky. It's not like
yeah.
smooth, like the audio and the visual. But okay, maybe I'll give it another shot.
Whatever floats your boat. Okay. So you are doing Zoom. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So now question is, what is your actual call look like? How long is it? Because I'm going to share. So right now, what I've been doing, which is why I'm asking these questions, is, I'll get a lead or someone will reach out. And what I've been doing is I'm hopping on that very initial phone call and without any of these prelims, just like hopping on and be like, oh, like, dude, so you're thinking about buying, what's going on? And just allow them to spill. And I'm pulling out like motivations and all of these things. And then at the end, would it be helpful if we hopped on a Google Meet with you and your husband? We talked about the buying process, blah, blah, all that stuff. And then connecting with them. Hey, have you already, like, one of my questions is like, have you already, of course, spoken to a lender? How's the financing? And from there, I connect them with a lender. So it's phases, whereas I feel like yours is much more efficient. My phase one is the phone call. Phase two is the home buying process where I go over the buyer's roadmap and all the shit. So I want to know what your process looks like, how long is it, and how you run that call.
Okay. So we jump on the call and again, Calendly has warned them, reminded them.
Warning.
Warning, if you don't show up, whatever, like an hour before or something like that. So we jump on the call. Typically it's or at least my clients have been like uh uh usually two buyers and like husband and wife or whatever. Um in the beginning, my calls used to be like over an hour, hour 10, hour 15 to get everything. Now I'm seeing no more than 45 minutes. My latest call, he hasn't signed the buyer broker. So, you know what? I probably won't really count that yet because we haven't started the process, but that one took like 30 minutes. But overall, it's about 45-minute call. So in the call, the first thing I say is hey, like I'm excited to start working with you guys. Like I literally, that's like my first statement. Like, hey, nice to meet you, Shelby. I'm excited to start working with you. And they're like, oh yeah, us too. We found you on YouTube, and that's blah blah blah. And then I say, okay, this call, I like to take this in like three different parts. So part one is me covering over the questions that you answered in the initial like intake. So that way I can better understand. And if there's anything else that you missed, like now's a chance. Because I want to definitely like know exactly what you're going for before I start sending you homes. Because the last thing I want to do is start sending you shit homes, and I want you to be real with me this whole time. Part two of the call is going to go over the Tucson market now and kind of what I predict when you're looking to buy. And then part three is going to be the next steps. Like once we agree that we're going to work together, I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. I'm going to email you the form, the buyer broker agreement. It shows my agents and my responsibilities to you, and it'll go over. That is when I can start working with you. How does that sound? And they're usually like, okay, cool, yeah, let's get started. So then I go over all these questions, even if they filled it out yesterday. And that's especially because usually it's one party filling it out. It's usually either the husband or either the wife, or either the wife and not the other wife, and they need to get in touch. So that way I'm not the like, I don't want to say enemy, but I'm not the bad guy when I'm showing homes that the husband thought that the wife would like. So I'm going over, I'm like, hey, this is what you answered. Is there anything else? And if there's ever a party that's a little bit quiet, I make sure to bring them in. Like, hey, Mallory, okay, what are your thoughts on this? Like, I haven't heard are these also your deal breakers too? And et cetera, et cetera. So I make sure that a quiet party is involved. And I go through, all these questions. After that, I share my screen, and I'm in my CRM, which we use KV Core because it's free with EXP. I share my screen so that way I can show them how I'm going through the filters that they wanted, and they can see, are there 100 homes available? Are there 3? So I tell them, they see it as I'm sharing my screen, and that's where we can add filters if we need to narrow down. Oh, and right before to that, I'm like, hey, I'm going to share my screen right now because I want to show you one, how easy it is for me to change my filters. So if there's ever a filter that you want to be changed, please let me know. Shoot me a quick text. I'll absolutely do it. So, and I want you to be able to see how many homes there are. What I find commonly, this is me still talking to the buyer. What I find commonly is that the more the buyer parties know exactly what they're looking for, the faster we can get our offer accepted. And it ends up only being around 5 to 7 homes in the market that actually fit your criteria. So that's my goal, is to narrow it down to that. And then I just share my screen. Go ahead.
And you're doing this in KV Core. You're not doing this in the MLS.
Correct. I do it on KV Core. I just got used to it. I'm not really like, I'm not really all that
My mind
familiar
is
with the
blown right
MLS.
now. I'm
Really?
like, I don't even know how to use the filters in KV Core. Like,
I don't know how to use the filters in the MLS.
Gotcha. Love it.
Yeah,
We complete each other. Look at that.
Oh, we're two halves.
Yeah.
I set somebody up, one of my very first clients, on the MLS, and I don't even know how. I'm still getting CC'd on these emails, and they have bought 4 years ago. Like,
Oh my
4 years.
God, no.
Like, how do I get off
Hilarious.
this shit? But yeah, it's like very user friendly on KV Core, like super user friendly. Unlike my opinion of the MLS, in which we use Flex MLS for that. So yeah, so that way they see it, and then I can automatically email them from there. Well, the MLS too, but I can automatically email them. And yeah.
So on that, you guys are setting it up together, their search, and you are like literally saving it and sending them it right there on the spot, which
Yes.
that actually is helpful because that was one of my questions. You're already jumping ahead. Because based on your questions, like the top 3 must-haves, wants, and deal killers, like I feel like mine is much more in depth with all of the questions that I ask them, which I have to reflect on. I think it's good. I think it's good for me to like peel it out. For me personally, it's all about, your own style. But something that I have not been doing that I think would be helpful is that share the screen and go through it on the spot, because I don't like that is my own personal homework. Like, I'm like, okay, within 24 hours, I'll set up your listing card and I will send it over. So then it's literally like hour 18 every time. I'm like, God damn it, I need to
Yeah. Set them
I
up on
need
the
to set up
search.
the thing.
Yeah.
Ugh. Whereas if I could just do it on the spot, that would definitely be better. But flip side, I guess, at what point, or maybe this is all in your YouTube videos, maybe this is your video stuff. Cause I'm like, at what point are you going over, if you go over like the home buying process, what to expect, timelines, like what inspections are like and appraisals and all of that stuff. But I'm guessing that's just all in your YouTube. But I also, you tell me, Ali.
Yeah. So it is in my it's unlisted in my YouTube. So people can't just find the home buying process. Instead, once they sign the buyer broker, I email them the unlisted videos of the home buying process. So we actually don't cover the home buying process. With that said, a lot of my clients are I kind of explain the basics of it during the call. I don't have like a specific segment because I just say 3 parts and whatever. I just got used to that. I kind of explain it in the second part, which is the Tucson market. So that's where I'll cover like, hey, we need to work fast, or we could take a little bit of time. We can offer low, but people are selling for 97% of list value, not 90, not 80. And I tell them that like exactly just like that. Uh, and then so that's where I kind of go over the home buying process, especially if they're new and if they have questions. I try to be as like, peppy, open, and I curse doing it too. I'm like, hey, like I don't want to send you shit properties. So like if you're like, hey, Ali, this area is not for me. Please delete this crap. It's so easy for me to do it. So that's where they're like, okay, cool. I start feeling more comfortable.
Okay, another
Yes.
question. This is so fun. So when you're setting up the search right then, and is your goal like 5 to 7 properties, or is there like a limit on how many you send them? Is there a goal? Yeah, like what are you thinking about? Like, yeah, just give me more. Give me more.
If you're looking to change brokerages this year so you can increase your business and you want to join us at eXp Realty and would like either myself, Ali Garced, or Shelby Johnson to personally sponsor you in, so that way you have access to 2 icon agents, text the word JOIN to either my number, 914-318-4918,
or Shelby's number, 859-267-3849.
If I sponsor you and you have access to the both of us and everything that's 5 Pillars Nation, we have the checklist, the systems, the processes to help you scale your business. And don't take our word for it. We've had agents switch brokerages to join us that were stuck making $300,000 GCI, and they join us so they can scale. So text the word JOIN to those numbers and we'll take the next steps.
Yeah. So this very much so varies by client because sometimes they know what they want and what they want is a gem. And I like that. I like when what they want, we have 2 properties of,
So
like,
much better.
oh my God.
They're your choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really, really depends. So that's why when I share my screen, it's also a surprise for me too. Like I don't do any homework beforehand because I want it to be as much of a surprise for me as them. And also I want to, so if it's 1 or 2 properties, that's easy. Like this is what the market is. And then afterward, I will look into the stats of say if it's in one zip code that they're looking at, then I will look into the list to sale price and days on market. So that way I can tell them how fast we need to act. If it's like other clients, which is actually the majority of clients, it starts off with like 50 homes available. Then I tell them like during that number 1 Zoom call, I'm like, okay, right now we have 50 homes and that's like totally overwhelming. So we're going to be narrowing this down so that way, and you're getting a property of what you actually are looking for. So with that, let's go over a couple of homes right now. I'm going to zoom through these photos super quick, just like spit out your thoughts because I want to hear like what you're thinking. So I'll click through the photos pretty fast and they'll be like, oh, old kitchen or, oh, whatever their comments are, I will then add more filters and ask them about it too. I'm like, hey, okay, so it looks like maybe you do want a 1-story, maybe you do want that 3-car garage or the tandem, whatever. Let's add a filter to that. Let's see what it changes. And on that call with their feedback, I'm trying to get it from 50 to 20. And yeah, after that, then to fast forward after that first Zoom call, if they start sending me properties maybe that are outside of the list that I sent them, I will look to see why. Is that in a different area? Is that, what kind of filter did they not use that I have on, which is why they didn't get it? And I tell them, hey, by the way, this is in that one zip code that you said that you didn't want, or this is in the school district that you didn't want, whatever it is. Do you want me to add that again? That's why you're seeing it. And it's usually like oh, wait, my bad. Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, that happens too.
yeah.
Or they'll send you like something that's like 500 square feet smaller than they said their absolute minimum was, or whatever. And it's like, okay, question. So that makes sense. And so is like 20 like a reasonable area, you think, for I agree. 50 is super overwhelming. But I'm just curious about the Ali method. Is like 20-ish good? Oh, and follow on for that is, do you at any point in time away from them, like go back in and go through slowly? Because so I'm at this point now where I feel like I can look at listing photos and I know how that property smells. Like I know how it feels. Like I am like looking at, and I'm like, oh, the photos look better, but this is actually what you know what I mean? Like after you've just seen so many and walked through so many, you're like, I know. And so I don't know whether I want to hand select, or what I used to do, just because when you're so busy, I feel like you don't have the luxury of like, I don't know, that you just like set up and you're like, send it to them. And you're like, tell me what you like, from this X amount. So I don't know. Where do you fall within that?
I'm definitely a tell me what you like.
Gotcha.
But then I do text them from my personal phone the day after or 2 days after, asking them what other filters can I add? Like out of the homes that you saw. Because at the end of that call, when we go over agency, I say, great, my TC has sent you the buyer broker agreement. It's ready for your signature. And look out for the email from the KV Core, which is the properties. It's probably in the junk. So check junk. And your homework after that is whatever I just said. I just blanked.
Signing the documents and then probably watching the unlisted videos or some shit.
And going over the properties. Like after so the email with the KV Core, look at the listings, please give me any feedback. So that's where I can continue starting to narrow down afterward. And of course with KV Core too, you can set them up on multiple drips. So sometimes I'll do like a more general, and then one I'll do like this is everything of what they asked for, which may have 0. And then that day that it has 1, it's like, hey, this is the property.
Do you CC yourself on those emails to the client? So
absolutely not.
So many.
Never, ever, 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 ever. No.
I've definitely done that for my first couple here, because I want, when you have the luxury of time, I'm like, so like, I want to be able to see it. I want to be like 2 steps ahead. I can see it from a mile away that I'm busy.
Yeah. I mean, remember, like, I used to do that with the MLS back when I thought I was going to be using the MLS for this, and I'm still getting those emails. I'm like, shut up, Ali.
Yeah. Well, Ali, you could just log in and change it.
I could. You know what? I'm going to tell my TC to do that. I'm going to tell my TC right now.
Write that down. You should message her right now. WhatsApp her. Be like, yo. Okay. So to recap, so I'm with you on figuring out what they, their wish list, whatever, were there. You are not going over the home buying process. Not really. You're vaguely. Then you are getting. Sorry.
I will cover. What I of course I always ask like if you have any questions, but usually it's like, so that call is just more so about them as opposed to the process. And I will answer questions about the process later on. But I do cover the inspection period. And I do, which is, standard is 10 days. So if you want all the inspections, we will need the full 10 days. But if you're only looking for like a general and a termite, then we could probably do 4 or 5, get our offer accepted faster. I go through like a little bit of strategy with them. That's like the number one thing that I cover. That and of course that I cannot start working unless you sign the buyer broker.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I need to flesh through and see how I want to update my process. Because so right now, the first call that I've been doing is like all about them. Like the whole thing is just questions, 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 like feeling out motivation, all that stuff, like excitement. And then the second call is any missed questions or any clarity required, along with here's the home buying process, here's totally what to expect. And it also has strategy in there. It also has like costs to expect, like a total breakdown of like, here's all of the cost and here's exactly like, the what's next, but the what's next includes like setting up the search, starting the search. And also what I've been doing so far, which I have to, it's been fine so far, but I see why you do it your way, is that normally like I give them the heads up in that call about the process of like, here's how agency works, here's the changes, here's the commission, like here's all that stuff. And I say, before we do any showings, like by law, there must be an agency in place. So right before we sign, like we're going to have, that signed before we see any houses. And they're like, oh, okay, that's great. And so I have like my template email before, when we have the showing scheduled, and it goes out like the day before for them, like, hey guys, like we've talked about this, but just so you know, please go ahead and sign. And so far it hasn't mattered, I think, because all of my leads have been so warm. But I do see what you're saying, where it's like, why would I put in any work until, you've signed and agreed to work with me? So I have to think through how I want to, because I don't think they'd be opposed. Like if I was just like, hey, like we signed to get started, and they'd probably be like, okay. So it's all in like framing as well. It's like how you frame your process and what's required.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah. And I don't know if this helps or not, but behind the scenes, like say they do shoot me a text or email me or whatever, before they sign, before I meet with them, I add them in my personal phone with a yellow dot right before their name. So that way, like as I'm scrolling, I see yellow, green, and that's it. Or red flags. And so yellow like signifies to me that they have not yet signed the buyer broker, so therefore they come second. And
Gotcha.
and I kind of tell them a version of that on the call too, that like I have to work with the clients that have already named me as their agent first, like they will come first. And then I guess to kind of finish that Zoom call is like, so the second part is going over the Tucson market. Sometimes I will share my screen if they were very specific in their questions. Because if they're looking for this one area, then it's so easy. Hey, I'm going to show you how many days on market and blah, blah. I don't bore them to death. I literally only talk about two stats. The median sales price, or actually three. Median sales price. How long
it's only 14. It's just 14.
How long it's on the market. And the list to sale price, meaning like, hey, so on a $300,000 property or $400,000 property, this is kind of what we can expect to offer and get our offer accepted. Nothing really below this. And they're usually like, oh, okay, can't lowball. Then the third part of the call is I just like go right into it. I talk about the NAR lawsuit, and that's where I cover the agency, what I do with them, how my compensation works, and what the typical Tucson market or home seller is like, how much they are contributing toward my fee, and what the remainder maybe that would come out of their pocket. At the end of each segment, I ask if they have any questions. Sometimes they do. Perfect. And then after I've covered over like how the flow of money has changed because of the NAR lawsuit. Like it used to be that the seller would pay the listing agent. The listing agent would be gracious enough to pay the buyer agent. And it was kind of like that L shape. Now it's, seller pays individually their own agent. Should they want to pay me, they can. But otherwise it'd be coming out of your pocket. I will never blindside you in showing you a property where the seller is going to be paying nothing toward my compensation, and it would all be you. So you're going to know exactly how much they're willing to contribute before we step into the property. So there's no surprises, because that's the last thing I want in real estate is a surprise. And they're usually like, okay, great. And then I wrap it up saying, sweet. Well, if you have any questions, like your homework is to review the email that's in your junk right now, which is the homes that I just sent you. Take a look at it, both of you together, and like just make sure, what are you feeling? What are you not? You saw how easy it was for me to change the filters. More than happy to do it. Number 2 is sign the buyer broker. Please let me know if you have any questions. I am one call away. Like, please let me know if you have any questions. They usually never do. And that's it. And then as soon as I see that you've signed, that's when I will send you the next steps to start work. And
Which is the unlisted videos,
yep, that's buyer email number 2,
which
which
we have gone
is
over.
which we have gone over. And that's where you can go back to one of the earlier episodes of the Agent Goldmine that you're listening to now.
Okay, cool. That is perfect. And I think that's all my questions for now. We have 33 minutes of absolute joy. I do have some more questions, but maybe we can have another one of these down the
Okay,
road.
cool. Yeah.
And guys, in case you did not know, theagentgoldmine.com has all of the checklists and templates and emails and tools and products that Ali and I talk about. It's all there for free. So head on over that, get access, have the best time of your life. Make sure you hang out with us on Instagram at Ali, the agent, ALI _the _agent, and the Shelby Show. And Ali is raising her hand. She has something else to say.
And if anything in the Agent Goldmine has benefited you, please give us a 5-star review. We haven't got one, I think, in like a whole day and a half, maybe year and a half.
No.
Give us some
Month and a half.
love. And yeah, give us a rating. We'd super appreciate you. Be a bro and share this show.